Hello everybody, this is Kyra with another My Porch Prints tutorial. Today we are going to be working on our Jane Austen journal, and we'll be working on the second signature for the journal. And I'm actually only going to be doing the first and second signature. I didn't film putting together the third one, so it's just these two, but if you are curious about the third signature, you can watch the Jane Austen flip through and get a glance at what was put in it, and if you have any questions, just go ahead and leave them in the comments and I will try to get to all of them as soon as I can. Otherwise, go ahead and put together all of your materials and assemble all of your pages, and let's go ahead and jump into today's tutorial. We will be starting with the very first page in the signature, and we're going to be making sort of like a, I don't know if it would be a clasp exactly, but we're just kind of going to be making a way to tie the pages closed. So for that, I'm going to be starting off with a little bit of pink lace ribbon and this small little like rose fabric decal that was given to us in one of our journal swaps. And I'm also going to be using a couple of brads and some pearls. Just putting those pearls in the corners. And then cutting some lace for the back, and then going ahead and punching those holes for the brads, trying to keep them as even as possible, just like this. And then gluing down the lace, and I realized that I had to cut a little bit of the lace away to make room for the brads, but that's okay, it looks fine when it's done. You could also go ahead and try to punch a hole through the lace instead if you want to do that first. It's kind of up to you. And then gluing down that little rose. Just like that. And if you don't have the rose, you can use anything you'd like. One of the clusters we made for our Valentine clusters would also be really cute here. And then trimming off a little bit of the extra. And then for tying it closed, you can use any kind of ribbon you'd like. I'm using a little bit of this like pink, oh, it has a name, is it Sari Silk? Is that what it's called? Ribbon. And you can tie it closed just like this, or what I end up doing in the end is tying it to both sides and then tying them together, which you'll see at the very end of the video, so don't worry about it. But anyway, it's just kind of a fun little way to sort of close your signature and give you a little bit more space in your journal if it's feeling a little bit thick. Alright, and I've realized that my camera stopped and I had to sort of charge it and then come back for the rest of this. So I already put this tag together during that period, and it was really simple. I just added a bit of washi tape sort of diagonally across it and a couple of journal words from the Jane Austen kit. And then I went over them with a little bit of distress ink. And then I just added a charm to the corner, like this. Nothing too crazy. And I'll be tucking it into a pocket that I went ahead and glued down, again off camera, just like that. And this pocket comes with the Jane Austen kit, as well as this envelope, which I went ahead and just tucked a card into, and then I glued it down to the back of the page. Like so. And then for a little bit of decoration, I added a little bit of silver wax and stamped it with a small stamp we have that has the image of a quill on it. And then just went over it with a little bit of gold, like a gold bronze Sharpie. All right, and that is going to finish up this first page, just kind of keeping it nice and simple here. I didn't want the journal to get too thick, so just kind of keeping this first one simple since this next one is a little bit thicker. And for this next one, we're going to be using the pocket flip template that is available in our shop. And if you haven't seen this before, we actually have a video tutorial up on how to make this exact one that I use in the video. So go ahead and check that out if you are interested. It shows you how to use the template and put your own papers on it and cut it out and assemble it step by step. So that should make this process really easy. So go ahead and do that first if you haven't already, and then come back here. And we're also going to be beginning to decorate it with one of the clusters from our Valentine clusters video. Again, if you haven't seen that, make sure to check that out. And for decorating it, I'm going to be using just a couple of random pieces of cloth and some of our tickets from the Valentine labels and Valentine's tickets kits, and a few buttons and some journal words. And for this first journal word, I just cut it a little bit smaller so that would fit onto the little label tabs, and rounded off the corners just like that, and then glued it down. Adding a couple of pearls to the top corner of these tickets. These are just those little stick-on pearls that I've used before. And then going in with that Victorian velvet ink around this other journal word from the Jane Austen kit, and putting that on the side. And to work on the rest of this journal, we're going to be filling it with lots of different ephemera. Some of these are from the Victorian Steampunk kit, some are from the Grandma's Garden kit, and some are from the Jane Austen kit. So I sort of used a mix of all of these things. Starting with that petal envelope and just filling it with a little bit of ephemera pieces, just assembling that to use later, like that. And then tucking some of those different cards and ephemera pieces into the various pockets that come with the pocket flip. And you can put anything you want in here: scraps, tickets, note cards, pictures, anything you'd like. And then to keep it interesting, I did add a couple of fabric pieces as well, just to kind of add a little bit of texture in here and store some of my scraps. I changed my mind a lot when I was filling this, so you'll see me move a lot of things around, but again, it's just kind of up to you, however you want to do it. The only word of caution here would be to not fill it with anything too thick, unless you don't, I guess if you don't mind your journal alligator mouthing, that's what we call it, you know, when it gets a little too overstuffed. But I tried to use things that were somewhat flat, like paper. And then finishing it up with a couple of different journal words and some pearls, just to decorate those tabs. And that is going to finish our pocket flip. Just going to glue it to the page. And there we go. Alright, and flipping over to the back of that page, I'm going to be covering it up with a one of our writer torn tags that we have in the shop. And again, we do have a tutorial on that if you are curious on how to assemble it. And since mine is pre-assembled from that tutorial video, I'm just going to be gluing it down. Just like this. And then adding a little bit of decoration to the corners by gluing down 4 buttons and then adding pink pearls on top of the buttons. And then gluing them all down. All right, and now that that page is done, I'm going to be flipping past some of the writing pages to this other blank page. And I'm going to be taking 4 of the papers. Some of these came from our grandma's garden kit, some from the Jane Austen, I think. And I think one of them might be from a writing kit that we have. I'm not positive on that. It might be from the Jane Austen kit. I've used so many kits in this, you know, I just kind of lost track. But you can use any of the papers you'd like. They kind of all work the same way for this, which is that we are going to be placing them down and then marking them on the edge. So they'll be getting shorter and shorter because we're going to be layering them. And you'll kind of see what I mean here in a second. Just leaving about an inch, maybe half an inch from the previous paper sort of sticking out to give us a layered effect. So each strip is getting smaller and smaller as we go. And it'll work just like this. And don't cut them short to fit the page, leave them long because we're going to be cutting that off later and using that on the next page. So don't cut anything to fit the page yet, just leave them extra long. And then using a little bit of Distress ink and Distress Oxide on a couple of the torn edges. So we tear them down the length, and then using some glue right along the edges, but not on the torn edge. We're leaving that one unglued because this is going to be a pocket. And just gluing that down. And then doing the same thing with the rest of the paper strips. Just like that, layering them up. And then here's where we are going to cut off the extra. And they should all be glued together, so they should be sticking together. And laying that aside, now we can go ahead and tuck this envelope from the Grandma's Garden kit right in there. And there you go. Alright, now that that page is done, we can go ahead and turn it over and move on to the next thing, which I just went ahead and did some basic decorating here. So I took one of those papers that we just used and tore off a scrap from it, just ripping off these edges, just kind of messy until it fits on the page, isn't too large. Just like that, and then gluing it down right in the center. And then for decorating it, I'm going to be grabbing one of the fussy cuts from the Jane Austen kit, this like little stack of books. And I'm also grabbing that scrap that we just made from the previous page, and some tickets and a paper clip. And I'm just going to be adding that to the side of the page here. I'm also grabbing one of the fussy cuts from the Birds and Bees ephemera pack. Just adding some decoratives with those pearls, gluing things down. And then adding a few more of those pink pearls in the corner. Adding some white pearls, making kind of an L shape. And there you go. That is finished. All right. Moving on to the last one here, I believe. We are going to be using another one of those fussy cuts from the Jane Austen kit, another stack of books, but these are sort of like a peachish pink orange color. And I'm going to be using a couple of scraps of fabric that were given to us by Pat Winter, and also this label that I sort of cut out from one of the cards from the Jane Austen kit, as well as one of the tags from the Shabby Embellishments digital that we have in the shop. Just gluing those down, layering them up. Alright, so all that's left to do is tie our signature closed. So I'm going to be taking a little bit of that light pink ribbon and just tying it to either page, cutting off the extra from the ribbon, and then tying it closed in a little bow. And a quick reminder here that even though I am not going to be showing the third signature decorating, it does come with a freebie of the Jane Austen, it's a Pride and Prejudice like page from the book. So if you want to get that freebie, make sure that you go to our Facebook page and download it from there. Alright, so that is going to finish up our signature decorating. Make sure that you check out the last installment in this series where we sew in those signatures and decorate the cover. But otherwise, thank you so much for watching, and we will see you next time. Bye!